For an investor, is there time to get excited about this EV migration which is happening? If yes, where should one look at? The current players, incumbents who will become big? Like in banking, it's the current players who only become big? Or one should bet on disruptors who can really change the way how this entire EV universe would move? As an investor, what should one look at? Ronak?
I think as an investor in India, you have slightly better advantage for looking at incumbents. And the reason is simple, because we don't have the entire value chain of products that go into an EV that are coming from India. So we still depend on a lot of imports, from components to subsystems to batteries and all the other chips and everything. We rely a lot on imports, whereas in the ICE vehicle, we at least have a local supply chain. So the incumbents till that time have to balance their portfolio between EVs and the ICE vehicles. That is number one. The second advantage for incumbents, at least in India, is they have a long history of after sales for their existing vehicles, and that has to translate to the EV as well. You can't assume that just because EV has less moving parts, things cannot go wrong. So a lot of times, software issues can come up, issue with the chipset can come up, which needs to be handled at the service center in the same manner, in the same reliability as we have seen with the ICE vehicles so far. There is one advantage incumbents might have today, which a new player will not have in terms of having distribution reach and even the sales reach. And thirdly, as the pricing of the EV, like even Homa said earlier, the pricing of the EV, the delta between taxation is so good that you can actually launch a bigger car, a more comfortable vehicle, and create that habit of people choosing the EV. So if you look at some of the other countries, they are good examples to see how the ecosystem has come up, but they are not going to translate directly into India. The challenge is over many developed countries, they also have restrictions on buying new EV cars. Even China has in major cities some restrictions on buying the ICE cars, sorry. And then EV becomes a natural option. So that's why the adoption has been much faster. There's been a lot of incentive push. At the same time, legislation push in making people convert their existing fleet to an EV fleet. So those things don't are not happening at the same rate in India, although we have our own quirks. But I think from the value chain point of view, from the after sales point of view, and even providing a better quality product point of view, incumbents in India today have an advantage because they have the capacity.
So I'll throw this one open and anyone can pick it up, and I'm purely trying to address the universe of EV. I have an auto expert. He's going to have a very busy year because there are so many new car launches that'll keep him busy. I have Ronak, who understands the importance of identifying companies which can really be benefiting if the EV transition has to go through. So gentlemen, 5 years from now, if somebody is betting on this EV transition, will they make a lot of money? Now, what stock you buy, when you buy, that's all separate. But as an idea, like we said in 2014, India is an idea ka samay aa gaya hai. So for investors, should one really bet on this entire EV universe? Yes or no?
Look, I think long-term EVs are the way to go. But I think in the transition, there are a lot of unknowns. I think the biggest factor which is going to play is the GST rate. At some point, I think as penetration increases, gets into double digits, I think someone's going to wake up, the government's going to wake up and see how much, they're losing in terms of a lower GST. So I think that to me is the biggest, let's say, a factor which will play. And it will play on demand, it will play on profitability, because right now, as we said, it's a single most important factor that is driving demand. I mean, if you look at it globally also right now, I think we have possibly the most favorable taxation policies for EVs. And even at a state level, a lot of them are, waiving off road tax and all. So, don't forget, cars are hugely taxed in India. ICE vehicles, it's punitive actually. But, with EVs, there's a huge leeway and relaxation. So I think that's going to be one factor which we will have to see. My feeling is that at some point, the GST level will go up in the next couple of years, in the next 5 years. I would think, and to come to your point on traffic being a bigger issue, I think there is a case to promote small EVs. That's the ideal urban solution. Firstly, they're non-polluting, they're easy to drive, they take up road space. So it could be a scenario if you have two taxation levels for EVs, maybe a sub 4 meter EV stays at 5%, and a plus 4 meter can go to something like 10%. I mean, this is just something that one could imagine. But I think
Right.
the GST factor is going to be the major thing. But I think long term EVs are the way to go. That's the only way to kind of nix public enemy number one, which is CO2.
Right.
And the transition is what we have to see how long it will take. I think the transition will be very, very long in India. It's a complicated country. Markets are very, very different.
Right.
Obviously, in urban cities, we'll see it much faster. But
Right.
yeah, I think they are going to happen. It's just that how long will that transition take?
Okay. Ronak, my next question is perhaps just a name. Tesla. Everybody is talking about it, right? Tesla. From last 3 days, all auto companies are saying Tesla. What is happening if Tesla comes? Will it come? If it comes, they will be in a different range. Auto stocks are down because Tesla is coming.
I think we should welcome some different kind of competition because that creates a different ladder in the customer's mind for what product they want to place at. So before BYD came into India, the EVs in India were, of course, using good quality designs, but of course they were not, from an international standpoint, acceptable designs. So, for example, BYD sells well in China, and the same way Tesla sells well globally. If some new designs, some new standards, and new expectations are built into the product, then at least customers have a ladder of price where they can choose whether, okay, it's a cheap car you want to buy, then you go with the domestic standards. If you want a global standard, you want to pay up a little bit extra for different kind of features, then you buy a car like Tesla or a BYD who has global standards. So I think it creates a customer ladder. I think it will be at a slightly higher price point compared to what EVs are generally sold in India today. And there's always been a market for that. So it's not necessary that just because a new player comes, it cannibalizes the existing market. We have to see how the basics of selling a car again in India are very different. We don't have direct to customer like how Tesla does in many parts in the world, developed markets. But if you have a distribution model, if you have a sales model which is direct to customer, it's also innovative. We will see how that also evolves the way cars are sold in India. So it's more promising in terms of creating a new entry, a new expectation from a product point of view. At the same time, price points are tough to match the existing mid to lower range EVs in India. So we'll see how it plays out.